I want to encourage a discussion about how to defeat COVID naturally, piece by piece, to as much of extent as possible, and to create regions that are COVID free through an experiment, if you like. Because we know for certain that people get COVID and they get over it. What is not broadcast, what is not told by the media or wherever, I don't know why, the lack of information and lack of intelligent, wise communication. I think politics are all panicking or whatever. They're told to say things, I better say this, I better say that. And they're not clearly thinking, therefore, they're panicking about this thing, panicking about COVID, and think, well, we need clear thinking here. And it takes some people, to come from obscure places and say, well, maybe other ideas how to deal with this might be an idea to try and experiment in, and that is to do this how lockdown is done is why it's failing. Two things are failing the public: a quarantine and the lockdown. They're failing because they're not done in any regimented or planned manner. You can't just say, oh, we're going to lock down because we've got an outbreak. You've got to plan your lockdown before your outbreak. You've got to be prepared, and you need to do a region or a few regions in America or a few counties in America or Israel or somewhere that can do, or China or somewhere prepared to do a regional experiment. When you prepare a lockdown beforehand, you prepare for it beforehand. So no panic buying, everyone will panic. You organize it so there's enough food and that, not to make people gluttons for 60 days, because it says it takes 60 days. But so they've got a diet what sustains them. You don't need to eat much if you're sitting around the house all day. You can get away with eating a few carrots. It won't matter. You'll be better off for it. But the idea is, because we know, because tests were done on rhesus monkeys, and we know that people have had COVID and recovered, and we know how long it takes them to recover, and we have some idea how long it takes them to fully recover. And so we can use that information, because I know people who've had COVID, and they phoned me and said, I've got COVID, and oh, well, stay away from me, and hope you deal with it, good on you. And then they say, well, I'm over it now. I said, well, that's it. So we can measure the time it takes from when they got COVID to when, and there's thousands and millions of people who have COVID already, have antibodies, and should not be vaccinated, because that'll compromise their natural immunity. But the thing is to have a place, an area, somewhere. It doesn't matter where. It can be done. This experiment can be done all over the world, into places where you lock down. You plan a lockdown ahead. As soon as you get an outbreak in the area, you plan a lockdown, because you can you'll be able to soon map the COVID where it's going to go. It's got patterns and it's got cycles now. You can easily project where, because of the climate, because of seasonal things, or you like flu does, you can easily map and project where COVID might occur. So if you prepare an area and take a risk with it, you can then you lock down for 60 days. And that time, that allows this, because this is actually, we know this because this is science facts. It's not me making it up. Because the reports came out about rhesus monkeys, which they did these tests on, it takes 33 days to get immunity. About 30 days before the immunity starts happening and starts getting over this COVID, it starts, the rhesus monkeys got COVID, and they got ill, and they got 30 days or sort of struggling with it. Then after 30 days, they suddenly felt better, right? Because they were getting over their body was dealing with it. They started to get on top of it. Now, but it takes another 20 to 30 more days then to clear and be clear of the virus. You've defeated it completely. You're free of it. You're not breathing it in, not breathing it out. You're not a you're not a virus infected person who can go out and affect others. Because, and if you did this in a region, if you did this experiment, It took a 60-day planned lockdown. No matter where, you've got to plan it. You've got to organise it. Then you have some data that you can deal with, what allows you then to maybe challenge this COVID thing. It's got to be challenged. The virus has got to be challenged. It's got to be taken on like a war. You've got to challenge the virus. We're going to take you on, you bugger, and we're going to defeat you because we don't want you. We're going to defeat you by our stoicism, our stubbornness, and our unselfishness to work with others in an area to together cooperate, in other words, to eliminate this virus in a region. So if you can do it in a region, one region, you can have a virus-free zone, then you can have some sort of, it allows then people to be, they've got immunity, if they've all gone through there, they've got natural immunity. Do they then need to risk the vaccine, which may compromise? Because there are reports, you can't deny the reports coming out of UK, you can't deny what reports are coming in, because the thing about the virus, it's very early days. We have got no prognosis whatsoever what happens with this virus, the vaccine, over repeated doses over many years. Seems like a rather risky strategy when it comes to human health and generating immunity naturally to a thing like this new pathogen, rather than finding out if we can develop a natural immunity by trying these sorts of experiments. It's very important to understand something about immunity, that the most important thing to do to understand immunity when it comes to children. People want to vaccinate children. I'm totally against it. And there's something else about children's immunity, and all these, some children dying, people dying of COVID. Most people die from COVID, die because of their old age and infirm, would die of flu or pneumonia anyway, or anyone younger is because their gut flora is destroyed because they only eat processed food. And it is a good way to test this, is to go and find out who's dying and what they're dying of. They're dying of COVID, but mostly they're dying because their gut flora is non-existent, and their guts are scarred because of processed food, and therefore they've got no resistance and no immunity to anything, because that gut flora is the most important part of your system when it comes to protecting you from pathogens. It works, it's a part of the symbiosis of the body, because it keeps your body pH level at the proper balance. And that's a very important thing to understand when it comes to immunity. Your pH balance, your body's got to be pretty well spot on if you can to get optimum immunity. When it comes to immunity, when people are born, when children are born, when babies are born, the thing to understand is, because you can go, my background is in evolution, but the thing is, when babies are born, young people are born, when they're born with much immunity from their mothers. The mother's healthy, they pass on some immunity through the mother. Then that baby then must gain immunity from the environment it's born into, and it's a very, very important thing to understand, whether you understand evolution or not. But nonetheless, imagine it like this: someone is brought up in one area, say India or China, wherever, in a valley, and they get pregnant. They got immunity from the area, and they go into another place where the environment is different, and a baby is born into that place. The baby must be able to adapt its immune system, innate immune system, which is born with, a biological immune system, is then adapts or evolves according to that new environment. Now, this is why it's so important that young people, there's a thing called telomeres. When telomeres are attached to chromosomes, the longer they are, the more chance of developing immunity, and that determines how long you may live. We know this is science fact. So if you use it as an indicator, you can say young people got long telomeres, so therefore they develop immunity easier, because that's what they naturally have to do. No matter what, whether it's COVID or not, young people have to develop immunity to the environment half of it from the mother and the rest from the environment, and that's why they develop then into that the space-time continuum, the space-time they live in, they exist within. That's the natural law of things. And to interfere with that, I think, compromises humanity as a whole. That's my personal opinion on that. Other people might differ. They might want to control the human's immune system and control the destiny of that for other reasons. But I think there's other ways of achieving a better outcome for humanity than having it all controlled from some central body. I think getting humans to control themselves for a bit of self-discipline will go a long, long way, because if people think happiness is only in material things, then they will wreck their body, which should be a sanctuary. But if they realise if you kept your body really good from when you're young to when you're old, you're going to be happier, regardless how rich you are. You could have nothing if you're fit and happy. As a person, if you're very fit, you're not so compromised by problems about your health, and you're not a stress on the health system. You're not a cost to the health system. I believe that a free health service means that you're free from the health service by keeping yourself healthy. That, to me, the best free health service is not to need one by keeping yourself healthy. I mean, no wonder the world is overburdened with sick people who rely totally on a free health system and health systems to keep them alive, when, in fact, they ought to be concentrating on keeping themselves alive. Anyway, I just thought this may help on quarantine. Should be 55 days, 60 days at least, not 14 days. That does. What? 14? No, your quarantine has to be for an extensive period to make sure that virus is no longer in that person, and they don't go from quarantine asymptomatic, and they go out and then pollute the society with this COVID and can't start these lockdown cycles all over again. And that's what the panic is in Australia. It continues to do that, unfortunately. Instead of saying, okay, lockdown for 55, 60 days, but we're going to do it in a month's time. Make sure you have organised your food and whatever. We're going to lock you down, sorry, but you can go and find something to read, a book, do exercise, do meditation, go on a diet, learn about nutrition, learn to cook properly, whatever. Keep yourself amused. It won't hurt you. It won't kill you. But if you don't do it this way, then either the vaccine will become an immune problem or the virus will kill you. So one way or another, you have to defeat this problem by your own human endeavour and cooperation with yourselves and with nature, rather than trying to panic and what's going on doesn't actually make sense. Thank you.